Hello everyone, welcome, I'm Robert. Today I want to discuss Gloom of Kilforth. And this is a game that made it to my honorable mentions video for top solo war games of all time. It is the first adventuring game that I played a couple of years ago. I've played many since, and I brought this out to the table because I got my Kickstarter copy of Call of Kilforth, and I played it a couple times, and I also wanted to go ahead and play this to see how it compares. So I'll talk about Call of Kilforth in a separate video later, when I bring it back to the table and have some final thoughts and see how they compare. So in case you have not heard or know about Gloom of Kilforth, I'm gonna give you a bit of a breakdown of what this game's about, right? So there's a fantasy adventure quest game, and it has consistently made it to top lists for solo players, and rightfully so. It's a very beautifully illustrated game where you control one character and you generate a map. So the game doesn't come with a board. Game is card driven, and the map is generated every time. Okay, and your goal is to defeat an ancient. All right. So you're gonna pick one of the four ancients to play against, or randomly choose one. And then throughout, you set up your character, you pick a race, class, and then you're gonna explore the land, level up, acquire allies, items, and there's other assets like spells and items as well. Okay, and there is a timer in this game. There is a knight card deck where you flip cards from the knight deck. Okay, let me show you. So there's a knight deck here, right? And this basically acts as your timer for the game. At the end of every turn, you're gonna flip one of these cards, and then one of the land areas will turn to gloom. All right. So in this case, Lonely Gorge would turn to gloom. All right. Let's see where that is. Lonely Gorge, there it is. All right, so that already turned to gloom, but it'll go from normal, healthy to turning to gloom, and that'll make it more difficult for you to traverse the land because you lose health if you end your turn in one of those. All right, so if the last knight card is flipped and resolved, you lose the game. All right, so that acts as your timer. You basically have about 25 days to level up enough to face the ancient. So that is the gist of the game. All right, so what do I think about this? Well, when I first played it, and it being my first adventuring game, I fell in love with it. All right, there were other games in my collection like Runebound that I hadn't played yet, but sometimes titles just sit on my shelf of shame, and I don't bring them up till later. But that's the way it happened. This ended up being my first adventuring game, and I had really great impressions at that time. Okay. My issue at the time was that I thought the rules were a bit tough to learn. It's definitely a bit of a unique game, the way that it's structured, like the rule set. I at the time, my assessment was that I believe that you should read this rulebook like 2 or 3 times at least, and study it very well. And of course, by playing it, you're gonna figure out the mistakes that you're making. But it's a system that it takes multiple plays for you to play correctly. Okay. And one thing that didn't help was that the rule book that I got with my copy, okay, is an older rule book, all right, and the rule book is a bit of a living document, and it has improved a lot since, okay. And there's been many revisions, many improvements of the rule book. So once I learned that, I went and read the updated rule book, and that helped a lot, definitely, okay, at that time. So then One other thing that I like about this game, right, is the replayability. So what you see here is this was my third game, right, after I put it on the table this week. First couple times I lost, and this game is tough. Make no mistake, this game is pretty tough, and you know, it's gonna take a bit to kind of get a grasp of the strategy here and the best approaches. All right. But the couple games took me to being defeated, and then this is my third game since I brought it back to the table, and I won against the Ancient using my Elf Ranger. And one thing I like about this game is the replayability. The variety is insane because at the end of a game, notice how big these stacks of cards still are. All right, you will roughly go through like a quarter of the deck throughout a game, which, by the way, it'll take like one thing I'll say, the playtime that the box suggests, it's not even close to 45 minutes or something like that. This will actually be an hour and a half to 2 hours plus, assuming that you have the rules down perfectly. Okay. So this will take you about a couple hours, hour and a half to 2 hours per game, and you'll barely like see like a quarter of each deck. So throughout, it'll take you a multiple plays to see every deck, but all the content in the game. But that doesn't include the way that the map is randomly generated, which creates like different situations. So the replayability with this is it's nuts. All right, so there's great replayability, and the copy that I traded included there's a copy that I traded back in the day, by the way, and it included all the Gloom of Kilforth content. And one other handy thing that it includes is it included was these playmats. Okay, the big world playmat maybe I could do without. It's very nice to have, especially because it helps you with the grid, so that the cards are not. You don't have to be as precise when creating the grid. And if you've seen my videos, you know that I like everything looking neatly aligned. So I do appreciate the playmat, not as much because of the art, but because of the grid. The grid really helps keep everything neat. But this playmat right here is a godsend. Okay. I'm really glad that my copy came with this. I wasn't even. I just wanted the game. I wasn't expecting it to come with this, and I'm so happy to have this playmat. But at the same time, I'm sad that this is not offered. It seems that it was an exclusive from the Shadows of Kilforth Kickstarter, and it's not offered anymore. I don't know if there's any third-party ones, but this playmat, I can't see myself playing without it. It's unfortunate that not everybody has access to this immediately, and the artwork on it is just gorgeous. It really helps you lay out your character stuff, like your loot items, your gold, your health, your hidden token. Just love this playmat. I wish they made it available at the the publisher's store at least. But yeah, so that's a playmat. That's the replayability. Very just tremendous replayability. The artwork, which I think if you've heard about this game, everybody will say how amazing the artwork is, and I agree completely. I just eat this stuff up. It's just amazing, and it really it's just so atmospheric. All right, it's that gothic art, fantasy art is just blows it. It just knocks it out of the park. All right. Okay, now, so one thing that you might not like if you are planning to get this game. Is the fact that the way that you progress in this game is through hunting keywords, right? And for some folks that might be a bit too mechanical. So basically, you need to go through your saga, and there's gonna be keywords, all right? So there's keywords that you need to hunt by moving around the land and flipping cards from the decks that are suggested. For example, enemy, right? Enemy has the red background, so you're most likely to find enemies in the mountain deck. Okay. So you're gonna explore mountains until you find an enemy, and those enemies are gonna, once you defeat them, they go to your hand. All right. And you're just basically hunting keywords, basically. And some people complain that that's just not super flavorful. It's like a keyword hunt. I don't mind it, but that's a complaint that some people have, that it might not sound that interesting to them. All right. Another thing you might not like about this game, if you're getting into this, is there's very little luck mitigation. All right. There's 4 fate tokens that you start with at the end, at the beginning of the game. All right, and they give you an automatic success when doing tests. All right, so everything here is based on tests. There's 4 attributes. There's fight, study, sneak, and influence. Okay, with those attributes, you're gonna do tests to overcome enemies or complete quests, and they're gonna go to your hand, providing you the keywords that you need. You're gonna be rolling a lot of dice, all right? And successes, you only get successes when doing tests with 5s and 6s, okay? And some people think that that's punishing, and that's just the game. There's variants where you can make it so that there's 4, so that 4s also count as successes, and it'll make it easier. One thing I'll mention: I don't play with any variants. I just play the the clean game, where no changes at all. The successes are 5s and 6s, and when you advance. When you need to advance through a saga chapter, you need to pay 5 gold, and that can be really tough at the beginning when you're not that strong. Okay, so you pay 5 gold and you advance in your chapters, and that's how you level up. By the way, the way that you level up is once you acquire the keywords that you need, you start gaining abilities. All right, and this is how you advance and you become stronger. You also gain more health and more actions. All right, so everything here is action based. You use your actions to move around the map. And as you level up, you gain more actions. But at the same time, it becomes more difficult to traverse the land, because, if you stay on a spot at the end of the day that's fallen to Gloom, you lose health. And when you lose health, you lose actions. So health and actions are linked here. All right. When you lose health in a fight or from some other circumstance, you lose action. So it can be pretty fatal, and you want to really keep an eye on your action efficiency in this game. Okay. The action, the way that actions are linked to health, some people don't like that, because it can feel really punishing. All right. I don't mind it, but yeah, just keep in mind this game is tough, but once you learn it, it can be really rewarding. All right, because once you get that victory against an ancient, like the story tells along the road, and the way that you level up I love leveling up my character in this game. I'm becoming stronger, by the way. It's amazing. You start off weak, and as you level up, you feel so powerful, and it's not always a guarantee that you're gonna beat the ancient. I have lost in the fight against the ancient before, so it's not a guarantee. Sometimes you're gonna win by the skin of your teeth, or you're just gonna succumb to the ancient. And in this game, by the way, it went down to my last action. My very last action was the one where I moved to the ancient and confronted it. If I was off by 1 action, I would have lost. I would have had to draw the last night card, and that would have been it. So yeah, sometimes it can it can come down to the last card before you defeat the ancient. Yeah, folks, that pretty much is my thoughts on this. So let me just summarize real quick. So on the positive side, gorgeous artwork, amazing replayability, great character development, great atmosphere, and back in the day, another reason why I brought this up is because I wanted to find out if back in the day, it might have been like a bit of love at first sight because it was my first adventuring game. I'm glad to report that that's not the case. I still love this as much as I loved it back then, okay? I just had a lot of fun playing this, even if I lost. It can be a bit tough to lose sometimes, but even if I lost, that's fine. Winning here feels great. The leveling up, just amazing. The replayability is just great, all right? The looting is cool too. Now, on the negative side, if the keyword hunting aspect of the game sounds, sounds unappealing to you, make sure you do your research on it. Also, the way that actions are linked to health. So if you get hit by health, you lose actions at the same time. So it can set you back. So you have to be really calculating when you decide to lose health in a battle, or for any reason. You have to be very calculating about that. If you don't use your actions efficiently, you're gonna run out of time before you have a chance to build up your arsenal and your levels and your experience to be able to face the ancient. All right. So the action linking, it might be a turnoff. The luck aspect, so successes are only in 5s and 6s. Okay, that can be tough, but I don't mind it. I personally don't mind it. I don't play with any variants myself. There's variants again to make the game easier or harder. The game comes with many variants, so you can customize the experience to your liking. The other thing is the rules. All right, this game is not easy to table. Even when I played it extensively a couple of years ago, when I came back, it was not fun reading through the rulebook again, even with the cheat sheet that I made, okay? This game is just not the most intuitive, all right? It's just the way it is. It's just very different from other games that I play, so it doesn't piggyback a whole lot of mechanics from other games or rules. So it'll take you some time to refresh the rules for this, all right? Especially if you come back to it from a long gap. And especially if you're playing this for the first time, it's gonna be tough. Make sure that if you get this, get the latest version of the rulebook from the publisher. Tristan has a Google Drive where he keeps the most up-to-date version of the rules. Make sure that you go off of that or compare it. Like maybe if you get a recent printing, it'll have the most updated rulebook. Just make sure to triple check that you have the most up-to-date rulebook, okay? So yeah, rules are a bit tough to learn. It'll take you multiple games to play until you get it correctly. And if the game appears easy, you're probably doing something wrong. I'll give that's if it appears that the game is too easy, you're playing wrong, pretty much guaranteed. All right, so just keep an eye on that. So I think that pretty much is it, as things that might deter you. So you just do your research. I do recommend this, all right, just with the caveat of the rules, all right. The other two things that might be negatives, they're not negatives for me, but they might be for you, all right. But yeah, folks, so that's Gloom of Kilforth. Still love it. Love tabling this, and I'm gonna play Call of Kilforth again. So I played a couple of games of Call of Kilforth, decided to table this for a few games, and now I'm gonna go back to Call of Kilforth and have a final verdict on how I feel about Call of Kilforth and how it compares to this. So check out that video when it comes out later. But that pretty much is it, folks. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, make sure to put them in the comment section. And if you enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.